What will you lift up? Written by Letia Frazier in the book We Cry Justice. When you get a chance, please read the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verses 16 through 30. The devotional begins with a quote by Black liberation theologian James Cone, which reads, "The conspicuous absence of the lynching tree in American theological discourse and preaching is profoundly revealing, especially since the crucifixion was clearly a first century lynching." End quote. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Botham Jean, Philando Castillo, Alton Sterling, Freddie Gray, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Eric Garner. These bodies and names make up just a partial list of the 21st century lynchings of people of color carried out by police officers and sanctioned by the state. I carry these stolen lives with me every day, as so many of us do. A friend of mine has written their names on a sticky note on a wall in her dining room. Soon she will need another one. Meanwhile, institutional white churches continue to remain silent. Dear Christian, church member, religious leader, or moral guide, your silence perpetuates violence against the bodies of BIPOC folks, that is Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Silence is complicity. Jesus lifts up the struggles of the poor and dispossessed. A woman named Mary, living in a patriarchal society in which women were considered property, is chosen to be the bearer of the good news. 9 months later, Mary and Joseph are a homeless couple whose only access to shelter is a stable. Where will the unhoused safely live? Jesus lifts up the plight of the homeless. As an infant, Jesus and his parents become refugees fleeing their home for Egypt. They seek asylum from a corrupt government and death threats. Jesus lifts up the plight of immigrants. As an adult, Jesus becomes an organizer. He wants to shift the distorted, nationalistic, religious narrative of his country and the world. He organizes those who are poor, including fishermen and sex workers, alongside those who have more wealth, like doctors and tax collectors. The society he lives in is set up to divide people against one another based on religion, class, gender, and ethnicity. Jesus' mission is to unite them. In Luke 4:18, Jesus announces it loud and clear in the synagogue. The Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. Jesus teaches his group of organizers the importance of caring for the poor. He shows them how to engage in projects of survival. He starts a feeding program with a little boy's lunch. He finds solidarity in the homes of friends like Mary and Martha. In the days of the coronavirus pandemic, workers fought for $15 an hour, and unions are leading similar projects of survival. I hope we don't cast lots for their clothes when many of them get sick and die. Jesus and his group of organizers understand that healthcare is a human right. Jesus is a healthcare worker who puts his life on the line by offering medical care to those deemed contagious. A woman with bleeding problems, lepers, and those with disabilities are given free medical care. At Jesus' crucifixion, the curtain of the temple, a divider that separates those who aren't permitted to enter from those who have the proper credentials, is torn in two. Jesus' crucifixion is a result of unjust government policies. Will we continue to allow unfair government policies to lead to the capital punishment of innocent people? Pilate cannot wash his hands of Jesus' blood. If we remain silent, we won't be able to wash our hands of theirs. As Jesus hangs on the cross, darkness covers the earth. Our very ecosystem is affected by the disregard of human life. On the cross, Jesus says, "I thirst." He joins the cries of those without access to clean water in the United States and around the world. Jesus lifts up the cries of the poor until his last breath. He proclaims, "It is finished," not because the demands of the poor have been met, but because in his living, his feeding, his healing, and his organizing, he has demonstrated that society can be restructured. He has shown that we can honor the dignity and the imago Dei, the image of God, in every human being. Like many leaders who came after him, Jesus was murdered because he disrupted the structures of society with an ethic of love. What he stood for did not mesh with state values. His life didn't matter to the state, which felt it had to take it as a matter of instruction to the people. Jesus becomes strange fruit. As Billie Holiday sings in that mournful song, Hanging on the Lynching Tree, when Jesus says, "It is finished," he is speaking to us. Dear Christian, church member, religious leader, or moral guide, he is calling you to lay down your excuses and lift up the cry of justice. That's the end of the written devotional, but I want to share this with you. Yesterday, I was looking forward to not having to do anything. But then a neighborhood asked me to judge their Christmas lights contest. So I had to ride around looking at Christmas lights and decide which house won first, second, and third place. I didn't want to, but I did it. And something came of it. I encountered a woman who asked us to pray for her. She told us that her mom had died on December 23rd, 36 years ago, and the Christmas season is difficult because of the loss of her mom. And on top of that, she'd recently lost another close relative. As I listened to her, God has already been kind of working on me. I picked this devotional because it highlights how Jesus was born into this world for something, and it had nothing to do with the stuff that we make important during this time of the year. Jesus did not come so that you would go into debt every December. Jesus did not come so that your ability or inability to give or receive gifts would drive you into depression. And yes, this is a season for us to come together with family and friends. We have all these Christmas parties, which is great. But for the Christian, this season has got nothing to do with the red and green color schemes. It has nothing to do with trees or Santa Claus or Christmas movies and all this stuff that we have made it into. This holiday, I'm thinking about that woman who probably was old enough to be my mother. She has no Christmas plans. And so I'm challenging you, my brothers and my sisters, do something different this year. Be around family or friends. Turn the TV off for a while. Turn on some good gospel music. Think about the Christ child. Think about God. This is heavy on my spirit. This season should not be a season of depression. As we talked during the Advent moment, this should be a season of hope, peace, joy, and love. Christmas is about the hope that Jesus brought to make this world a better place. What are you going to do to make this world a better place? As you sit in your heated home, think about those who are sleeping on the street. While you pick and choose which meats and sides to eat for Christmas, pray for those who don't know where their next meal will come from. As you give gifts to people who already have more than enough, consider what you can do to help somebody who has been wearing the same outfit for the last week because they don't have a change of clothes. Instead of focusing on you like you do every other holiday season, I'm challenging you today to look out for the people around you. This week, ask God to lead you to someone who you can be a blessing to. That's my challenge to you today.